Welcome into Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho.
And this is Jacob Waters.
And guys, we have an awesome show for you guys today. We are talking about the wide receivers in the 2021 NFL Draft class. We are going to be talking about my top 5 wide receivers. Then we're going to touch on some of the other names that aren't in my top 5, how I feel about them. If you are watching on the Between the Pylons podcast channel, you can check out a bunch of draft profiles that we have on the wide receivers. I've gone through and pretty much talked about what I think about a lot of the main guys, and then a lot of names that, most of the names that are on this list, I think I've done a video on now. So I've gotten through the majority of the wide receiver class. So you can go back, you can know that I've been kind of cultivating this list for a while. I'm excited to talk about that. Before we get into that, we have to hit on some other news around the NFL, and the developing story, and we mentioned it last week. We're going to mention it again on DeShaun Watson. We got to at least touch on it, and I think we're going to have to do that for the next couple weeks until this all gets sorted out and more information is coming in every week.
It's getting bad.
Yeah.
It really is. So the number is up to 14 women now who have come out and joined and added information on sexual misconduct with DeShaun Watson, and this is going to be an ongoing case. This is something that could completely destroy DeShaun Watson's career, future, anything, and I think the only input that any sane person can have at this moment is just for the truth to come out. Whatever the truth may be, I don't know anything more than anyone else on this situation, but all we can do is look at the truth, and then we have to develop an opinion and go forward off of that. And it's sad. It's sad no matter what, because someone is affected and someone is hurt in this situation, no matter what, truth or not. It's hard.
Yeah, no, it's rough. And it's, just to peel the curtain back, me and Jacob have talked off air a handful of times just saying, we want to approach this subject with the utmost respect to everyone involved. We don't want to, we get hot-headed and we speak kind of offhand and tongue-in-cheek, I can't talk at all anyway, tongue-in-cheek a lot on this pod, but with subjects like this, you can't tongue-in-cheek it. You can't, we have to be as diligent and as respectful as possible to everyone, because if it's true, he doesn't deserve to be if it's true, kick him out of the NFL. He deserves to be 14 women. We already live in a hyper cancel culture world. And, I'll say I will fully put myself out there by saying I think a lot of it is bullshit. But with stuff like this, real shit, real sexual harassment, yeah, that's I don't have a problem with people making jokes and dumb shit like that people get canceled for. I think that's stupid. But when you get into this kind of subject, I'm always going to take the side of the woman or the person that's been affected. So, yeah, I'll say what I said last week. I hope it's not true. But at 14 women,
I hope it's not true because of the sake of DeShaun Watson, the potential that he had. If you were to redraft the entire NFL, dude isn't slipping past 3. His age, his potential, his character that we thought, his game, everything spoke volumes but you have stories like this that are being compiled left and right, and it's not looking good.
It's just crazy to see the fall, because he was going from I'm willing to sacrifice my paycheck to never play for the Texans again to now.
The Texans may not ever want you again.
It's not about he's not going to another team. No team's touching a guy with 14 sexual harassment cases on him. And the way the NFL is and the way the sports world is, maybe he does get another chance, and maybe regardless of what happens, he'll kind of get lucky. The talent will make a team not care about the off-field stuff. I don't think that's right. I don't stand by that at all. But it's going to severely impact his career, as it should if it's true. And I want to keep hitting that home. But it's a rough thing to think that a week, 2 weeks ago, as a Dolphins fan, I was praying we would get a DeShaun Watson, and now it's that door is fully closed in my mind, and now it's I might not get to see DeShaun Watson ever play again. That's that's crazy. I think that's. Is there anything else to say on that?
No. It's so tedious. You just gotta. It's like walking on eggshells, the entire situation. None of this is good in any way. No. The truth. That's all. Yeah, that's all we need. All right, we'll move on. Let's lighten it up a little bit. All right, so I wanna touch on this real quick before we get to the meat of the show, and I want to talk about the pro day times that have been coming out. The pro day bull, and we've mentioned it a handful of times, but we're going to be talking wide receivers, and wide receivers have some. A lot of these guys have already done their pro days and stuff like that.
these numbers that are coming out with the 40, and I'm not even going to speak on any of the other numbers, but the 40 alone are absolute bullshit. Absolute bullshit. I don't believe any of them. And I'm sure some of them are real and would be very close to accurate, but like Rashad Bateman is a guy that I would pick. Like, you watch his film, he's not a guy who screens fast. He runs a 4.41. Fuck that. There's no way he runs a 4.41. 4.41 is ridiculously fast.
It's these are probably the most overinflated numbers that we've ever seen. Strictly 40. All the other stuff. Rondale Moore busting out, what was it, a 40 and change inch vertical?
I believe that. I've seen him. I've seen his cuts. I know
and we got to see that live and happen. The thing with the 40 is that without the laser, it's a hand time. And a hand time, when we're talking a 4.38 and a 4.56, I mean, like something so small and in between, but those point something seconds determine a John Ross going at 11 overall.
Hollywood.
Henry Ruggs, Hollywood. You know, certain guys.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Ruggs did not deserve to be the first wide receiver taken in
after he showed up and did what he did, and I'm not. That one was accurate, of course. I'm just saying we know the way that the NFL and speed is evaluated right now. Yeah. And you can look at least 10 names that are in a 4.3 right now on this list.
Yeah, it's
wild.
Yeah, that's not real. I mean, come on.
Well, a few of them actually hit 4.2s.
Yeah, which one of them is true because it was a true track star. Your dude
Anthony Schwartz is a 4.26 fast.
Yeah, he's that fast, and I can at least believe that. Now, Anthony Schwartz isn't a wide receiver. He's a speed guy, and maybe he develops into something, but he's not a wide receiver right now. So, and I think everybody kind of knows that. But you know, I mean, I wanted to bring that up, mention it. I mean, what did Fields run? Fields ran a
4.41.
Yeah, come on. I mean, look, he's fast,
and I can't remember which
4.41,
which scout or which draft analyst said something about if he ran a 4.41, he's moving up on boards. There is a rumor now that the Jets, could seriously take him at 2 based on a 4.41.
Well, okay, I'm
just saying that I can't. Hey, was it Mel Kiper? No, I don't know who it was.
I didn't hear that. I will say that's fucking awesome. I'm a Dolphins fan, and I'm sorry, Jets fans out there. That's fucking awesome because I have said it all offseason, and I will keep saying it. If Zach Wilson is there at 3, Dolphins take him, and I am fully on board for year 2 of Tua. I really
got the wow factor.
As a Dolphins fan, I fully am on board with that. But Wilson is another level good, and I would absolutely move on. It would be the same kind of thing as the Arizona Cardinals moving on from a Josh Rosen after 1 year. And I don't think Tua is Josh Rosen. I'm just saying they were in a position to get a Kyler. You get a Kyler, you know. I that's crazy to me. Let's get into our top 5. Let's go 5 to 1. We'll talk some honorable mentions where I'm at with the rest of this class, and then and then we'll get right into it. All right. So number 5 is Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney out of Florida. This dude is, I mean, just ridiculously explosive, ridiculously quick. His route running is not all the way there yet, I won't say, but he's fine. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's just, I mean, he's a better version of a Rondale Moore, and he's taller. Rondale Moore gets the billing as the guy who's like super quick, super, you know, twitchy athlete who's gonna explode upfield and make people miss. Kadarius Toney's better at it. He's a better version of that type of guy without the injury issues, and I would say with more upside as Kadarius Toney, you know, has size. Rondale Moore's like a 5'7", and Kadarius Toney has a little bit more size on him. Super explosive dude. I'm very, very excited about him at number 5.
Yeah, he's a human joystick.
Yeah, best way to explain it.
The way that Florida was able to use him, and he did have a route tree. He needs to get better and develop in that area, but tunnel screens. Yeah, just get him a 1 yard drag, and he's going to make people miss. And when he makes them miss, they look dumb.
You're crazy. Absolutely
and
right.
That's going to translate to the next level. His shiftiness to be able to go right, left, straight, stop. He's electric. Exactly that. So you immediately are led to. That's why we see so many Chiefs. Yeah. That's why we see so many Packers plugins, because it's the offensive minds. It's the system that they could do, and there's a need for it.
I love him on the Chiefs. If he goes 31 overall, holy shit. I love
well, there's
him
a good
on the
chance
Chiefs
because the Chiefs
so
expressed some
much.
free agency interest in a guy like a Juju or
and
anyone.
He's better than Juju. He's more explosive than Juju. I'll put it that way for sure. I fuck, man, that would be ridiculous. He would fit and the amount of clever plays that they would be able to get him.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ. I mean, you talk about fantasy. I mean, he moves up your board in fantasy if he goes to because he'd be the perfect fucking fit.
Yeah.
But honestly, and every team does it. Everything would have us. Every team has a spot for Kadarius Toney. He's a joystick, and I'm pulling up right now as I'm looking. We're just gonna keep it going. I'm pulling up my scouting report on him just to see, didn't face a lot of press. His ability to cut on a dime is just ridiculous. Incredibly twitchy. I know it says would be ridiculous in any read scheme. So good with the ball in his hand. And he's a tough runner. He can run the ball like he's a downhill runner, and he has the explosiveness. I think he's the Sammy Watkins style guy. That's kind of like my comp for him. A big fan. That's all I have on him. You want to move on to number 4?
Yeah, go for it.
Terrace Marshall out of LSU hits number 4. And if you watch my draft profile, I believe all 5 of these guys have a draft profile up for them, so you can check out any one of these guys and get a full breakdown of them on the Between the Pylons YouTube channel. But Terrace Marshall is a checks the box guy for me. I think his absolute floor, in my opinion, is he'll be a really good wide receiver too. That's how I look at him. It's a guy out of LSU. You got to think he was the number 3 guy on the team with Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. He was that number 3 guy, and obviously that team was totally loaded. They were a great football team, and he'll 100% say he was the 3rd best wide receiver on that team. Takes over the role with Jamar Chase sitting out, and really shows. Can play inside, can play outside. He's a big body dude. He is, he makes 50-50 balls, 70-30 balls. He's shifty with the ball in his hands. He's an explosive player. There's no obvious flaw to his game. I mean, he can pretty much run every route from every position. He played a lot of different positions at LSU. So as far as like different spots on the field from the wide receiver position, he's a checks the box guy. He checks every box for me. I think, could you say that like the high end explosiveness isn't as good as a Jamar Chase or a Devontae Smith or a Jalen Waddle? Yeah, sure. It's not. But at his floor, he's a wide receiver 2, and at his ceiling, he's a really fucking good wide receiver 1. I mean, that's how I look at him.
So I agree with the check the boxes. I think he it matches everything that you look for in a solid wide receiver in the NFL. I am more led to believe, though, that is the number 2 role in which he fits in. He doesn't. I may eat my words, but it's part. This time of the year comes around, and there's certain things that have to be drawn. He's not up there for me, like you said, with the Jamar Chase, with the Jalen Waddle, with any who's it, Devontae Smith. Those guys scream superstar status. And then there's a few more. Kadarius Toney, I think, given the right role, could be that. For myself, a Rondale Moore, I'm very high on Rondale Moore. Mm-hmm. I think those guys have superstar status. I think Terrace Marshall, I just don't think he's going to be an absolute
I get what you're saying. So all 5 of those guys, more explosive than Terrace Marshall.
Yes.
Absolutely fair.
But all-around well-roundedness, he's there.
The thing for me is his floor, and this is why and totally fair. People that are going to have like those, the 5 guys that you said ahead of a Terrace Marshall, I'm not going to say you're wrong. For me, I'm putting him at 4 mainly because I have a program that decides it for me. Like I get to decide how much I like him, but I have a program that kind of put it there for me. And the reason he's going to be that high is because there was no aspect of his skill set that got a bad grade for me. So his overall grade ends up being better. So that's always going to happen. But for me, the reason I would argue for him at a 4 here is because I think the upside. I think his best chance, like his top ceiling, is Devontae Adams. That's his ceiling. Now, no, I'm not saying he's going to get there. Every player has a ceiling.
Has a ceiling.
Exactly. So that's his ceiling, and his floor is so fucking high. Like Kadarius Toney could never develop as a route runner and just and bust out of the league. I don't think that's going to happen. Super excited for Kadarius Toney. Rondale Moore, same kind of thing. Terrace Marshall, for me, in my personal opinion, he's going to be a wide receiver 2 on a team and be solid wide receiver for the next 7-8 years in the league. Like he'll be a starter for the next 7 or 8 years.
What team do you want to see him go to?
I would love if you
Could
believe
he fit Baltimore.
I was about to say Ravens. Yeah, I was just about to say. I was going to say if you believe that the problem in Baltimore is the wide receiver core, grab Terrace Marshall in the first round. I really believe
I think with his skill set being,
it would be complemented so well. Yes,
he could complement a Julio because Terrace Marshall could excel at the X.
Yeah.
Excel right there. And then you might be able to bump around Hollywood and flirt around and not make him be the true number one.
Yeah.
A team, maybe the Eagles in the second round, perhaps.
Yeah, I don't know if he gets out of the first. I'll be honest. I don't.
There's a chance.
There's a lot of good wide receivers in this class, and the way the NFL goes, teams are gonna Terrace Marshall's gonna get jumped by Kadarius Toney, right, by a Rondale Moore, maybe by guys like that. If if a team feels like they want the upside of the elite explosive athlete type of guy, so Terrace Marshall, he fits a style of wide receiver, and that style of wide receiver isn't as sexy as it was, I would say, 7 years ago. So he could easily fall to the second round. If he does, Eagles would be stupid not to grab him. If he got to the Eagles at number 2, and the Eagles didn't take him, I would be, fire GM on the spot. That's how bad I would be.
At 1 through 5, there's a lot of discrepancy, especially with NFL front offices, on where their 1 through 5s go.
Yeah.
To recognize that the talent is there, Terrace Marshall has that.
Yeah.
Who's to say that a certain team could come out of nowhere and pull the trigger? I mean, we've seen that happen time and time again. Yeah.
The other one that I really love would be the Bills. The Bills, then he could go to a team where he's not asked to be the number 1. Diggs is always going to be better than Terrace Marshall, in my opinion. Diggs is a superstar.
He is.
So you put him opposite of a Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs has everything in the bag, in my opinion. Terrace Marshall is not going to be quite as explosive as Stephon Diggs, but he would be
But he doesn't have to be.
He doesn't have to be. He would be an incredible number 2. And you can put Terrace Marshall anywhere on the field. He can play slot. He can be the big slot guy. He can be outside. You could there's positional, variety there with the Terrace Marshall. So yeah, that would be another one. I want to see him go to a good team. I really do. Guys, I like the guy, and he's one of those guys where he's a top recruit out of high school, doesn't have the college season or the college career that I think he probably expected, wanted, all those things, and it wasn't even the third best player on his team in 2019, and was the best player or best wide receiver on his team in 2020. But that was only because the best player that would have been there opted out. And we're going to talk about him in a minute. All right, you good to move on?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, so my next one, I struggle with these next two, right? Because I have this personal opinion that it should be Devontae Smith. I'm gonna say it's Jalen Waddle because I'm looking. Yeah, I'm trusting my program. In my heart of hearts, I want this to be where Devontae Smith is, but I'm keeping it the way it is. Jalen Waddle comes in at 3. I fucking love Jalen Waddle. Can be Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle can be Tyreek Hill. I understand he had the injury thing, and Devontae Smith comes out and is explosive, and all those great things. Heisman Trophy winner, great. Jalen Waddle, in my opinion, has the higher upside. I really believe that. That might be crazy to say, but I really believe that.
No, you're right. Jalen Waddle, before the injury, was a guy that was back there on the punt return that could take it to the house any given second, just because of the athleticism, the traits that he has. The traits pop off the charts. He is fast. He is twitchy. He can go up and get it. His hands are some of the best in this class. I think
good route runner. Yeah.
Very good, crisp too, clean. Yeah. And I think it's crazy when you compare a Jalen Waddle and a Devontae Smith because they're so different in certain areas to where Devontae Smith doesn't pop. I don't think when you look at just Devontae Smith's body and his numbers,
his body pop. Especially, yeah,
exactly.
His body doesn't pop at all.
But when you watch him play, he just has, just the ability. It's inside of him just to be a good football player, to be in the right spot at the right time, to make the big play when you need him to always show up and be there. It's just different because when you watch the film on a Jalen Waddle is better than a Devontae Smith.
You think so? So you have Jalen Waddle higher?
Yes.
All right, and that's totally fair. So, and we'll defend Smith in a second. So I'll stick with that. I will say, I think he is the complete package. I know he's a little bit smaller. I don't care. Size just has not been an issue for wide receivers in the NFL. I mean, I'm repping
separation.
Yeah, I'm repping a dude who's 5'10". Nobody talks about how short. I'm
not.
Yeah, you're not. No. How short Odell Beckham is. That's what I was trying to say. I do think he's shiftier than than Devontae Smith. I really do. He is a shifty, twitchy dude. His athleticism, explodes off the screen for me. There's a play, and I talk about it in my draft profile video, and I highly recommend you go watch it. But where he's running full speed down the field, ball's thrown way out in front of him. Two guys are on him. He leaps through the fucking air, running full speed, leaps and fucking flies through the air to catch this ball, catches it between two guys that hit him on the way down, and he brings it in. And it was just like, I think I watched it like 100 times while I was watching this.
He's an incredible athlete.
He's just an incredible athlete. He's so much fun to watch. You could nitpick and say, his blocking could be better. Certainly could be. But I mean, shit.
Without the injury, Devontae Smith doesn't win the Heisman.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in saying that, listen, Devontae Smith is an amazing talent. I'm not taking a dump on Devontae Smith at all. I think he can do many, many great things in the league. Could even be better than a Waddle. That's just my personal opinion. But Waddle getting hurt is what allowed Devontae Smith to really have that true role as the one. Yes, they had Mechie, who was able to step up to the plate at Alabama at times. And Mechie's the next guy up.
He'll be a first round pick.
Yeah. Mechie's the next guy up.
He will be.
And then you know what? After Mechie, it's just the way Bama runs things. They have the talent to do that. So that's just how it goes. But before that injury, they were the 1-2 punch, and I feel like Waddle was the guy that you watched first. You knew about Waddle before you knew about Devontae Smith.
Yeah. So I'm going to say something, and I'm going to be perfectly transparent. I was listening to Chris Sims' podcast last night, and I heard him say it, and it kind of just rung so true for me that I want to say it again. I do believe that Waddle and Smith are better than Julio, or better than the two wide receivers last year. I think they're better than Ruggs and Judy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
you said Julio. And
no, not Julio. Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to say Judy and Ruggs. So yeah, I said Julio and had to backtrack for a second. I apologize. But yeah, I do believe just on a talent basis, physical gifts, physical ability, and it's.
I really like Judy last year.
I know you do, and I know a lot of people will push back on that. I believe it. I do. I think they're both just a little bit more explosive to me. I think that's where it comes to flourishing. Jalen Waddle is just the full fucking package. He's such a good route runner, and you're right. I speak about him as he's my number 2. Even though
I was about to say we
not.
Just said all the good things.
Listen,
now you got to get to the 2.
Devon, look, he's. Let's talk about the big negative, right? Because, I mean, we know he's the Heisman Trophy winner for a reason, right? And we can say, listen, that Alabama offense, just the scheme, the schematics, put him in the perfect spot to succeed at all times. So I will say that. But, I mean, he's also has every tool in the bag. Is he a 50-50 ball winner? Absolutely. Does he have some of the best cans in the class? Absolutely. Is he an amazing route running? Absolutely. Is his release off the line good? Does he really, is he pushed around off the line and pressed? No, he's really not, for how small he is. That's not the issue. I do think, and this is my big problem with him, is he can get bullied down the field a little bit when he's. I burped. I'm sorry. He can get bullied down the field a little bit when he is facing man-to-man coverage against a corner that is big enough and long enough to mess with him a little bit. And he will, he draws a lot of personal foul, penalties from that. But there were a handful of plays against Georgia and against Ole Miss that I remember watching, and I talk about in my draft profile video, where down the sidelines he just can get he can get pushed, pinched towards the sidelines
off his route
and just pushed out of the play essentially. And it happens. It's happened enough times where it's like, okay, I see the thing on the field that bugs me, along with his body is not impressive. I'm sorry. His body of work is amazing. His stats are awesome, but his physique on the field, to me, it's long and lengthy and it's tiny. He's a small dude.
He's a small guy with long arms.
Bugs me.
But Devontae Smith has the numbers. He has everything that you could want for out of this year. I mean, I couldn't name a guy whose stock has probably gone up more based on this body of work from this season. Does the scheme that Alabama runs with the Steve Sarkisian RPO setup, though, affect you at all? Because, listen, there's a lot of times he's a very good route runner, but he was able to take just an RPO handoff slam to the house. So
the thing is, and people will talk about that, the thing is, it bolstered his stats, but he's still fucking awesome. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, all of his stats came from this and he's just okay. No, he's still really, really, really good. You can see that when the play isn't designed for him, he's still incredibly explosive. He still can beat man on man, creates, all of the things that you want to see. This is what he is. And this is the thing where I think you could kind of pick your poison here. he's Larry Fitzgerald to me, and now Jalen Waddle is Tyreek Hill. Like that's the, and they're not perfect comps. I'm not saying they're body to body comparisons or anything like that. But to me, like Devontae Smith can be Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald, great route runner, great player. Just a team guy, and also like the mindset of a Larry Fitzgerald, I think fits a Devontae Smith just from everything I've seen, and that's maybe.
And then Jalen Waddle on the other one has X factor,
explosive, yeah, rigid, and I mean, not to say Devontae Smith doesn't.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, he absolutely does. We're talking about 1 and 2 or 2 and 3 in a really fucking good class. Like, let's be clear, we're splitting hairs here. We're talking about really, really good players, both guys that deserve to be top 10 picks in a normal class, and probably won't be because all the good wide receivers push down all the good wide receivers into like the mid rounds. That's usually how it happened last year, and it'll probably be the same this year if I had to guess. But yeah, I would look at a Larry Fitz as maybe not quite as explosive, but could catch everything. Great route runner and was still explosive. I mean, Larry Fitz was a top 5 pick in the draft. He was a elite athlete coming out.
Listen,
and he's
people
all-time great.
He was,
and he's an all-time great. So I don't think it's an insult to say that Devontae Smith can be that. It's not. I think we can all agree that's not. Devontae Smith. I will say it again, is a checks the box guy as far as everything that he does really well. You could put him anywhere. He can play almost any position, and at the wide receiver position, he can play anywhere on the field. He can do anything down the field. Get him the ball in space, anything like that. He can do all of those things, and he's significantly more explosive than like a Terrace Marshall. I'll say he's significantly more explosive than a Kadarius Toney or a Rondale Moore, and that might be saying something. Both those guys are maybe more twitchy, but you're talking about just a pure explosiveness and athleticism. I would still give it to Devontae Smith. We're talking about elite athlete for sure. The big negative, and I think that's why Devontae Smith. This is why I think I want to put Devontae Smith at 3, but I won't. I'm going to stick to my program that puts him at 2. Is his frame. His frame just bugs the shit out of me. I think
needs to fill it out.
It could be the biggest detriment to his game, and it could be like that's the one thing that I can point to him and say, if he doesn't succeed in the NFL, that would be why.
I am scared because I know how good he is, and I know the way that he's able to use, in spite of his small frame and in spite of all of that, he is still able to use all of his God-given abilities and just stand out on the field.
Yeah.
But the cornerbacks at the NFL level are we are seeing prototypes come out now to where they are 6'1", 6'2". They are long arms. They have 6'4" wingspan, 6'5" at times. They
can run.
They're in the 200-pound. Yeah, these guys are true, just physical press lockdown guys that we see. And there's different schemes all around the place. But for a guy, I'm pretty sure he weighs in at 175.
Yeah, it's tiny. He's tiny, and he's long, but you go watch highlights of him, and he's awesome highlights. But go watch highlights and go look at his arms, his forearms, compared to the cornerback that's covering.
We're not wrong in saying it. They showed a picture of him standing there on the sideline, and they said, "Does this look like a Heisman winner?" And it wasn't really to throw any shade at him, but it was just to say, "Wow,
small guy."
Yeah, small guy.
Yeah, in every sense of the word. I mean, like I would venture to say my forearms are probably thicker than his, and I'm not shit. You know what I mean? It's crazy to say that. All right, well let's get to number 1. I'm not
clear cut.
Cut number 1. This is it's Jamar Chase.
People would argue with us.
Okay, so I will say this. To me, Jamar Chase is the best prospect I've ever watched, that I've ever studied, and I've only been doing this best. Yeah, I'm gonna say it. He's the best wide receiver prospect that I've ever studied, and he's the best skill position prospect that I've ever studied. I'll stick it at that because I've watched some ridiculous DNs and stuff like that have come out recent years.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's among one of the best for me. And granted, I've only been doing this a handful of years, like really like doing it, and then obviously years of just kind of watching it in as a hobby, and now I could try to do it very seriously, or put a lot of time and energy into it. But Jamar Chase is an elite prospect at every fucking level. I'll let you talk about it for a second while I pull up my grip.
No, it didn't change for me. Yeah. Everyone talked about whenever the sit out happened, and Jalen Waddle, Rondale Moore at the time, and Devontae Smith were like the ones. It was like, wow, Devontae Smith's the number 1 now. Jalen Waddle's still the number 1, stuff like that. And it's like, man, y'all forgot. Y'all forgot about Jamar Chase. You forgot about the guy that in a national championship game dropped 4 touchdowns, could single-handedly end Oklahoma, and they did. And all the while, Justin Jefferson was the second best weapon, and look at what he is now in the NFL after going to the Vikings at 18 overall. Jamar Chase is that dude. Was that dude while we knew who and what Justin Jefferson was. Jamar Chase was next man. Yeah. Was the man.
Let's put it this way. Jamar Chase is every bit as explosive as any one of these guys. Jamar Chase has the, the fight. He's the contact balance to fight through contact better than anybody on this list. Like to a level of like a Julio Jones in the NFL. Like nobody pushes Julio off his route. And I'm not saying exactly the same because obviously Julio's 6'5", whatever he is.
He's a freak.
And Jamar Chase is maybe 6 foot. So not obviously exactly the same. But I've always said he is Odell Beckham and Julio Jones in a blender.
That's what screams to me is Odell Beckham.
Yeah, that is what Jamar Chase is. He is Odell Beckham Jr. and Julio Jones put in a blender. A little bit shorter than a Julio, just as explosive as a Odell Beckham. Has the contact balance and never going to get. I don't care who is up against him. He's gonna win. I mean, he won constantly in the NFL. You watched Alabama in 2019. There were points where 4 guys off the line were staring at him, and I talked about it in my draft profile video. The first play, it's like, how do you want to know how good he is? Well, Nick Saban has the entire defense on this side of the field watching one fucking man.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean? Just ridiculous. He
warrants the attention, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he can run every route. The combination of size, speed, and physicality is unlike any receiver I've ever evaluated. It really is. He is a physical freak by every single definition. There's nothing I don't think he can do. I think he could be. He deserves to be a top 5 pick. He deserves.
So Dolphins take him at 3. Are you happy?
Happy as shit. Happy
Dolphins
as shit.
take Jalen Waddle number 3. The whole point is, how big is your gap?
It's a huge gap. It's a huge gap for me. Yeah, and it really is. It's a huge gap for me. My grade has it as a huge gap. I have him as a 7.3, which is elite prospect. I have Devontae Smith as a 6.95. I know that doesn't sound like a big gap, but that's a big gap on my grade. So yeah, it's a big gap, and I know a lot of people would argue with that. I mentioned Chris Sims. Chris Sims doesn't agree with me on that one. He thinks it's pretty close. I don't. I mean, I just don't. I think it's ridiculous. I'm the same exact way.
I think Jamar Chase screams superstar, screams immediate help at that position. And who picks 4? It's the Eagles. No, it's the Falcons.
Yeah, Falcons won't take him.
I just Eagles fans, it's my dream for y'all to have that happen. Because I think in 1 year it could immediately turn everything around.
Fixes the position. Because then whoever else is there can just be a complementary piece to your main guy.
It can make the guy that they got last year, Jalen Reagor, for instance.
It would fit. Yeah, it puts him in the position he needs to be in. Jalen Reagor was never going to be the wide receiver 1, not like the legit shutdown wide receiver 1. He's the speed guy who can do a lot of things with the ball in his hands, and hopefully, you find a spot for him. A ridiculous athlete, but I mean, not anywhere close to what Jamar Chase is.
Right now could come into most teams and fight for that number 1.
Yeah.
I think he's that good.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's ridiculous. And people have been saying this for a while. I don't know where he goes. I really don't, because you go down the list. You have 5 with the Bengals really not address the offensive line over Jamar Chase if he was there. I can't imagine they would do that. At 6, that's where the Eagles are at 6, right? I mean, I don't know where he ends up going. The problem is, teams are going to have to make the tough choice. As good as Jamar Chase is, there's going to be a really fucking good wide receiver in the second round, especially the top of the second round. Terrace Marshall could easily be there in the second round. Terrace Marshall, I think, is a better version of like a T. Higgins, and T. Higgins was there at 33 overall for the Bengals. A lot
of good names.
Yeah, so I mean, and there's nothing wrong with saying that, I don't think. So I could see him sitting right there. I could see you're going to have your pick of the style of wide receiver you want and a very, very good prospect there at the very beginning of the first round. So those teams at the top, like in the top 10, are going to have to really do some due diligence. Do we want to take the Jamar Chase and be at a lesser position somewhere else, or do we take the top end talent in a different position and be okay with the guy we can get at wide receiver in the second round? So that's going to be a tough decision. That's why the Dolphins won't take him at 3. As much as I would like it to happen as a Dolphins fan, the Dolphins there's nothing about this new organization that screams they're going to value the wide receiver position. Wide receiver is almost getting to where running back is. We saw it this year.
And y'all specifically are paid a Will Fuller a minimal amount of money, but
$10 million for a year.
You still brought him in.
Yeah.
You have a Devontae Parker.
Yeah.
You have weapons.
We have 2 guys that opted out.
Take the 3.
Yeah, we have 2 guys that opted out. We have a bunch of guys that can fight for that number 3 spot. Our wide receiver core is a need, but it's not like the biggest need we have on the team at all. So it would be a very, very, it would be a luxury pick for a team that, we overachieved last year, and I don't think we're in a position to be taking luxury picks. I don't think the franchise would think they are either. So yeah, I wouldn't imagine we would get Jamar Chase. I'd be happy as shit if we did though. So he's ridiculously good.
Insane amount of talent.
All right, so that's our top 5. We're not done yet. We're gonna go through some of my other guys on this list. I'm gonna pull it up for you and just let you kind of talk about them. Before we do, I just want to bring this up, and this is just for me. I mentioned Chris Sims. Chris Sims is a guy who, in my opinion, if you don't watch him and you're into like talent evaluation stuff, he's the best talent evaluator in the media. He is, period. His track record over the past 4 years. Go back and listen. He has hit consistently, and people always give him shit for having the weird list or whatever. Well, the NFL
there's always a weird spot.
The NFL and the media is consistently wrong on the consensus. Every fucking year, like, we get shocked about what the NFL does, and every fucking year, players that were supposed to be great, bomb in the NFL. And Chris Sims' list, it can match it at times, but he's consistently right on. So a guy I really respect. I'll just put it that way. And it was pretty cool to see his top 6. I'm going to put it on the screen for you right now. But his top 6 is very, very close to my top 5. And
well, you have. Out of the 6, you have 5.
I have 5. And Damai Brown, who he spoke very highly of. Yeah. I listened to the podcast last night, actually. He spoke very highly of him. I didn't watch him, so I don't think I'll be that high on him, because I watched Daz Newsome, and Brown wasn't a guy that
Daz was the guy that
so
popped, I guess.
So I've watched games with him on the field, and he never popped for me, so it would be fair for me to say that I probably won't have him at 3 the way he has him there. But I was just pretty excited to see that, I know how much work I put in this. You know how much work I put in this.
Doing independent work and then checking it against guys that you value
it was
in
cool.
that field is nice to see.
It was a cool moment. So I just wanted to put that out there. Just, pat myself on the back. I've been working hard, and I felt like that was a cool moment for me. And I wanted to share that with you guys. All right, I'm going to let you take over. Ask me some questions about the rest of my list as you're looking at it here.
Rondale Moore at 6. I don't think you need to elaborate any more on that. For me, he's in my top 5. Mm-hmm. I swap him and a Terrace Marshall. It's hard. I was thinking Kadarius Toney versus Rondale Moore.
Okay.
I would take a Kadarius Toney just because of the human joystick glitch factor that he is able to do on certain teams. But listen, Rondale Moore, it's the injuries. Yeah. It's the injuries that throw you off, because before that, the man was the Devontae Smith supposed to win the Heisman wide receiver. That's where he was. The hype was through the roof. He came back. Yeah. It was rumored that he was going to sit out. It was rumored that the whole conference wasn't even going to have a season. And then he came back, and then it derailed from there with the injury.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say, in my personal opinion, I don't think he's as explosive as a Kadarius Toney, really.
And that's why I don't think
Kadarius. I don't think he's, because you look at the grade, it's a huge drop off after 5 for me. So at a 6.7 for Kadarius Toney, Rondale Moore is at a 5.82, which, again, I know that doesn't sound like a big drop off. That's a pretty big drop off for me. He's very, very close to an Elijah Moore at 7.
I like Rondale Moore's route running and hands better than Kadarius Toney, though.
I get that. I think I won't argue with that, honestly. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I have I have, actually, I have the hands pretty similar on my grade, but I get what you're saying. I definitely do get what you're saying. For me, the injuries is a huge thing, which my grade does account into injuries a small bit. It's not a huge factor, but definitely counts it in. The injuries is why he's not going to be a first round pick. I will say that. I will make a shot bet with you right now that he's not a first round pick.
I agree with you.
Okay, so we're not making that shot bet. You have some shots next week, by the way.
I do. Is this where we plug that in?
Let's put it in there right now.
Texans fans, y'all showed up and you showed out, and I promised, as I would, I will pay up on that, and it's going to come. We want to do it special, though, because y'all did a really good job. I'm not even going to lie. Yeah. Y'all exist. Y'all are out there. You came out strong. As you know, I meant no ill will. I was applauding you, if anything, for showing how true you are of a fan, considering all the dismay and all the disgruntled fanship that I would have. Listen, I get upset as a Vikings fan over a lot of things, and I think y'all have it way worse in the past few years on what we've seen. Good job showing up. Off the top of my head, I think there was at least 6, 7.
Make him fucking drink. Get on there if you're a Texans fan. Don't lie. Don't fuck around. But if you're a true Texans fan, get on there. And well, I mean, all of them that they left a comment and they actually talked about their team and shit. And that, I mean, I felt like it came from a real place.
The whole point being is that we want to give you your moment, and we really appreciate the comment, the feedback, and knowing that you watch that. So we are going to literally post. We'll have it set up to where your comment is somewhere on this screen somewhere, and I look at it. And I'm going to take my shot, and then we're going to run it.
Yeah. However many more times.
It's probably going to be at the end of the podcast because I don't know if I need to keep doing it throughout because you're going to start to see me get a little lax after 7.
Exactly. All right, so we'll move on. We'll get back to wide receivers. I just had to throw that in there.
You're good, Texans fans.
Yeah, Texans fans. Awesome fan base. All right, but yes, I get what you're saying with Rondale Moore. The injuries kill me, and the explosiveness. I do wonder, did he lose a step? Because I remember the 2018 season, and I remember how fucking ridiculously explosive he was. I don't think he really has. There's still moments. His explosiveness out of a cut is still so ridiculous. The amount of when he makes a cut in the open field and he gains, he somehow gains more speed, although he was running full speed, but he just made a cut and adjusted his momentum in a different direction and gained speed. That doesn't happen. That's against the laws of physics, in my opinion. Not in my opinion, facts. That's against the laws of physics, but he fucking does it every single time. So it's ridiculous.
I think
his athleticism is
there
awesome.
is a chance that he goes in the first. There is a chance. The injuries hold him back. Yeah. It was kind of like how I fell in love with a Laviska last year. I really like Laviska. Injury, but because I'm not saying they're the similar build, but some of the ways in their film, the way they pop, the athleticism, it's like you could go into that play not trying to watch that, and I'm sorry, I know what you're watching by the end of that play. You're going to watch that guy because he's the dude out there. Rondale Moore to the Packers, don't want to see it happen because I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. I think they would nail it.
Yeah.
I think they would absolutely nail it. I'm led to believe out of the Packers list here, I think Rondale Moore fits in very well.
And if he's there in the middle of the second round, I think that's exactly where his range is. So,
Elijah Moore at 7, very good prospect. I want to get back to Elijah Moore because I think you need to answer.
He's my guy. He is my Elijah.
I think you need to answer Rashad Bateman at 11 first.
Yeah. So
go down in the notes.
So okay. So this is where I'll put this on the screen so everybody can kind of understand. Nico Collins at 8 through Rashad Bateman at 11 are all within 4 points of each other. 0.04 points of each other. They are a cluster for me. And Rashad Bateman's at 11 right now. Now I will be doing some slight tweaking. He could easily end up at 8 for me. Okay. So just to be
11
totally
to 8
fair,
is a big jump.
Yeah, that's
I don't question at 8.
Yeah, and to be fair, after 11, it's a drop off for me as far as talent. For me, Rashad Bateman, at least right now, and it could be changed, that the top 11 in this class is a league of their own, and then it drops down significantly for me as far as real value or real talent. At that point, you're kind of getting into the rest of these guys to me are day 3 guys. And we can talk about some of those guys as well. But yeah, Rashad Bateman, I think is a really good player. I think he's going to be a big slot guy. He's a tactician. He's not incredibly explosive. It would be my first thing. It's I will say that and feel pretty okay saying that. I'm sorry. I know the love that Rashad Bateman's had, and I know how much hype has been around his name.
He gets first round mocked a lot.
He gets first round mocked. It's crazy to me. He's not a first round pick. I'm sorry, he's not. And I've done a draft profile on him. I've kind of laid out why I think he's where he is. Maybe he does fall in the first round. To me, his ceiling in the draft is top of the second, and really I don't even think he'll be there. I do think it'll be mid to late second is kind of where he'll end up going. I get the love for him, but he is a big bodied guy who I think it lacks an elite level of explosiveness and acceleration, and I think he's good. I think there's a lot to like about him, and again, I do think he's a second round pick, and it's crazy because the narrative makes it sound like I'm hating on him.
Yeah, you're saying that this guy should go in the third.
I'm being forced to kind of defend why he's lower than everybody else's, but I still really like him. I still think he's a great player. I think his ceiling is Keenan Allen. That's his ceiling as a prospect, and Keenan Allen's awesome. I love Keenan Allen. I think he's a great player. Excuse me. I will say, Rashad Bateman, as far as route running would be in the top 3, top 5 in this class. I mean, him, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Then you get into Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. Yeah, then it's any of those guys. But all those guys are really good route runners, and I actually think. Just looking at it, I think I have him as my number 1 route runner. No, I have Amon-Ra as my number 1. He's my number 2, and then Jamar Chase is my number 3 route runner. So yeah, that's how I break it down my grades. By the way, I base it on each skill. So yeah, I love his route running. There's aspects of his game that I love, but his hands are pretty average to me. His quickness slightly below average actually. He's not a guy that I expect to be a big contested catch guy. I never really saw him come down with those contested catches like I would like to have seen a little bit more of. His cut and change of direction is awesome. His ability, I mentioned a little bit with Rondell Moore. When he cuts, he doesn't lose any speed. I mean, he's he can change direction and keep going just as fast. So that's an elite grade for me. Really like him as a prospect. Really like him as a player. I do think his name has been overblown a little bit in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think explaining how small of a point difference you have right here, kind of let it know that it could float from an 11 to an 8. Now I'm going to give you your moment on Elijah Moore, because I know that right now he's not graded out as a first round pick, but we did mention in the show already, NFL scouts, NFL people have their boards a little differently, and I think both of us agree if there was a name that could surprise you as a late end. I mean, let's be honest, CEH last year, I think that was a very big surprise out of all the running backs going.
Yeah.
I think if there's a wide receiver that could pop up there and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Elijah Moore.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I take the victory out with CEH. CEH was my guy. I loved CEH coming out. I didn't care about the size, and I understand like the stats versus some of the other top rookies is definitely going to be there. CEH probably will never be looked at the same way as a Jonathan Taylor, who was your number one.
The offensive system.
But he was still drafted. He was still the first running back taken. I'll take him to the victory lap just for that. That alone. So I like that. And Elijah Moore will be the same way. I'm going to take my victory lap with Elijah Moore, and I think I'm going to be right about this one. Elijah Moore, to me, just to kind of give he is 0.04 points away from Rondell Moore. Now, I will say, just in my heart of hearts, I do think Rondell Moore has a little bit more. I talk about his explosiveness out of cuts is just another level, but Elijah Moore, a great all-around player, has enough route running ability. I think he can contest down the field, but I don't think that's what he's going to be in the NFL. I think he's going to be, that scat back type of guy that's going to, be explosive, get people off their line. He's just an explosive, dude. He's a twitchy athlete that at the wide receiver position, and I'm a big fan of his. I think he's an awesome player. Would not surprise me a bit if he gets drafted ahead of a Rondell Moore based on injuries. I do think the injury thing will be a thing.
He put up a fantastic statistical year against, and I know with the COVID year, the SEC defense has kind of had some slow starts early on and whatnot, and Lane Kiffin offense, Ole Miss, blah, blah, blah. A fantastic statistical year against some really, really good defensive talent, knowing that he is the guy to watch.
Yeah. And by the way, if you feel I haven't explained myself well enough on any of these wide receivers that I talked about, I'm trying to be better about that. I always say 1% better every day. I'm trying to get better with stuff like that. If you feel I haven't, I'm pretty sure everybody that I've talked about so far, I've done a draft profile on. So check that out and let me know if you let me know in the comments how well you think I've done, or if you think I could explain things a little bit better on here. But also, if you just truly want more information on what I think about these guys, go check out the draft profile. I do go into a lot more detail with stuff like that. Last couple guys that I do want to mention. I mentioned the cluster of names. I think those other three names would surprise you to be in the same cluster as a Rashad Bateman.
Tam Terry and Nico Collins are the two.
Yeah,
Amon-Ra, I do like Amon-Ra.
Amon-Ra is the guy that I think a lot of people kind of get because his name's been around. Amon-Ra is just the elite route runner type of guy. He's the Van Jefferson of this year's class. He'll be a second round pick to a team that values route runners.
He gets bumped easy though.
His contact balance is bad. Let me see where his contact balance is for me.
Go to the right, 1.5.
1.5. Oh wow, yeah, it is bad. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I have a 1.5. That's not good for me. It is what it is. Nico Collins, great play. Nico Collins, I think, is Rashad Bateman. Nico Collins, I think, I have him, again, just a couple points ahead of Rashad Bateman. But again, another big body guy that I don't think is like incredibly explosive, but he was on the biggest difference is Nico Collins was on an absolutely god-awful Michigan offense, and Rashad Bateman was in a really good position with Minnesota's offense.
Yeah.
But Nico Collins, I think, has a similar athletic profile. I think Nico Collins is a little bit better 50-50 guy. I'm a big fan of Nico Collins. He's another guy I'm going to be doing a draft profile on him very soon. So it's not out yet as of this video coming out, but I'm putting that one together. And Tam Terry, excuse me, I'm sorry, I have the burps today. Tam Terry, a Florida State wide receiver. He is your, I think he's your B- Terrace Marshall. Like, if I'm explaining like the type of body. Tim Terry is a big body guy who, maybe let me say B- T Higgins type of guy, because Terrace Marshall's a little bit different to T Higgins, but I at least make that comparison a little bit. And Tim Terry, I like him a lot. I think he's an athletic dude, 50-50 type of guy. his style of wide receiver has gone out of vogue a little bit in the NFL, and I've missed on guys like this a lot lately. So, take it for what it is. I was a big JJ Arcega-Whiteside guy coming out. I wouldn't have taken him over DK, but that is what it is. But I was a big fan of his. He has flopped with the Eagles, and Tim Terry. I'm not saying I see him the same way, but their same style of wide receiver, and I'm just kind of thinking in the back of my a guy like this hasn't hit in a while, but I will stand with the athleticism. That I like the player a lot, and he fits right in there with me in that tier. We'll say tier 3 of wide receivers in this class, and then it kind of falls off.
Yeah.
You good?
I want to comment on my hometown favorites, the Auburn boys, and a Seth Williams and an Anthony Schwartz.
Yeah.
I think Seth Williams took a very, very tremendous hit the day that Auburn played South Carolina. It was J.C. Horn. He was lining up against true elite number 1 talent. Bo Nix did him no favors in that game, for one. Bo Nix had tunnel vision. Bo Nix targeted him way too often in areas where it was a J.C. Horn win no matter what. But it saddens me to say, because I know how talented Seth Williams really is. Yeah. When it comes to the go up and get it type ball, I don't know if there's a better guy in this class. In my head, now of course the top 5, I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying outside of those names, the guys that really pop, Seth Williams is that guy. But the NFL is not needing that guy anymore. Yeah,
I get it. I'm a little bit lower than you are on Seth Williams, and
I'm not saying that I'm much higher.
I loved Seth Williams when throughout the past year. I've talked about him a handful of times. He has popped on just watching an Auburn game. He's popped a handful of times. I think he popped at the Oregon game when we watched live. Maybe that was maybe that's why I liked him so much. But
he's a very physical guy.
He is. He really mess you up. And I went into it knowing I liked him. And kind of watching it, and I started being like if you look at my scouting report, it's this is a little bit of a negative, but I'm not worried about it. And then it was
before you know, you have 6 of those,
bro. All the problems that I started to see, I saw too much of.
Yeah.
And then it just was am I too high on it? He was literally one of those guys I had to stop and kind of reassess the next day. I actually watched him twice. I watched all the games that I watched and then rewatched it and redid it because it was I needed to make sure that how I felt. So I feel like I have a really good gauge on him, or at least my personal opinion of him. And I'm not quite as high. I think he absolutely deserves to be drafted in the 7th.
It just saddens me because I have seen a lot of good wide receiver talent at Auburn go wasted because of the inability to develop a quarterback position.
Yeah.
And I look at a guy like a Darius Slayton, who I think is a true asset at wide receiver for the New York Giants.
Yeah.
In a lot of areas where they were devoid of talent in that position, he stepped up in a lot of ways.
Year 1 stepped up, yeah.
Exactly, and undrafted out of Auburn. A lot of people didn't even know who he was going into that.
I didn't.
Seth Williams has the buzz around him. It sucks because a lot of the areas that I think you need to pop and get drafted and get that spot, I have no doubt that if given the chance, I think he could arise to the opportunity. I just don't know if he's going to be able to get it because of a lack of separation issue, and that's what it takes at the NFL level.
I think that was the killer for me.
Go to the guy who can get the separation, but I think just lacks the overall ability to just make the football plays is Anthony Schwartz at Auburn. Anthony Schwartz is the guy he's the number 140 guy. He is an absolute Olympic athlete, world track star, has the world record. It had at least in the 100-meter dash.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a true asset to have on the field, and there were many ways that we were able to get him involved, gadget-type plays. But at the end of the day, too many times where he would get the absolute crap knocked out of him, for one, because he doesn't have the NFL-sized body.
Small guy, yeah.
And there were times where his hands aren't there.
Yeah, I will also say, as fast as he is in straight line, he's not quick. His
Kadarius Toney's fast.
Yeah, well, as far as quickness,
in-game speed.
Yeah, quickness. The quickness. I talk about the cuts and his speed out of the cuts. It wasn't there for me as far as Anthony Schwartz goes. And again, I do think he's just a guy who never really played the position. Needs to learn the position. Team's gonna take a shot on him because of the speed.
Of course.
Put him at the back of your roster and at least have a guy that you think, hey, if he can, I don't know how much you can learn that or how much that's just innate. I'm not an athlete. I don't know. I'm not an athlete like that, at least. So
I think he needed to stay.
I don't know. He definitely needed to stay. The fact that he came out, there are two, I don't know what it is, but there's just a handful of guys I look at this year. Maybe it's just as I've kind of gotten better at this, I will say that I've gotten a little bit better at grading players and assessing talent.
Yeah.
As I've gotten better, I think I've started to notice more and more he should have fucking stayed. He should have. And it's man, I think he just, crushed his own draft stock.
Anthony Schwartz specifically was a guy who was raw.
Yeah.
What do you do when you're raw? You stay where you're at and you work on your craft.
Yeah.
And in a year where COVID affected the combine, completely took it away from us, why are you going to hone your one skill that is speed that that you could, he had potential to crush the record. Not crush, to beat the record. That's his thing. That's his flavor. That's his talent. Is speed.
In the 40 time, that's where he shines.
Exactly. So why in a year where the combine got trashed, you know that you're a raw prospect. So your 40 is your game. Is the thing that is going to sell you in the second and third round in this potential. I think he kind of missed the shot on that.
Yeah, I totally get it. One last guy I want to talk about. I just want to bring his name up. Tutu Atwell, speed guy.
He's
again,
fun.
You talk about small, shifty guys. Again, Tutu Atwell is another guy where it's like, yeah, like he would be an example I would show to like in his shorts and be like, hey, you're faster than him, but why are you like you need to figure out the,
you just don't have the
lateral explosiveness,
yeah.
like I don't know any better way to say it. He's a guy that I would have shows like, hey, you could be this guy. And Tutu Atwell's going to be drafted, fourth. He could sneak into the third with his athleticism and his explosiveness. Just, like a team will fall in love with the skill set. Smaller guy again. I just wanted to bring him up as a name that like would make sense to me as a team would take a look at and definitely consider in that mid round range. Like he's never going to be a complete wide receiver, but has a ton of athleticism and has he's a fun watch. Exactly the way you said it. All right. We just about got into an hour.
I think we got it.
Anywhere else you want to go with this? You're good.
We're good, man.
All right, guys. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to the Underdog Podcast Network for hosting us on their YouTube channel and hosting our podcast. Thank you if you're watching on the Between the Pylons channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it to this point and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe button. He'll do a shot if you hit the subscribe button.
Hold up. I gotta make right with some Houston Texans fans out there. And
guys,
I will.
I'll do a shot if you hit the subscribe button. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Like all our videos, do all the things you're supposed to do. Peace out. We'll be back next week.